Welcome to the AA Podcast, our little corner of the web where we are not afraid to discuss tough questions like,
when did nutrition, health, movement, and stress management become alternative medicine?
Where we embrace challenges in all aspects of life to become healthier and stronger versions of ourselves.
And where food and movement are the best kinds of medicine, and cooking meals at home is a revolutionary act. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AA Podcast. This is Ashley Olson.
And I'm Andrea Crane.
We're excited to have you back once again for another episode.
How excited are you, Ashley? How excited are you feeling?
Well, if we had recorded this 2 days ago, I'd be less than thrilled.
Yeah.
This episode is very timely because, well, I never get sick, Andrea.
I know, you really don't. You really don't.
I really don't. And last week we were at Universal and Disney in Orlando, Florida, and I felt great Thursday, the day I came back, or we came back Wednesday. Thursday I felt fine, had a little tickle in my throat, and I was just, but normally, usually when I come from a humid environment back to dry, totally normal. And then by Friday afternoon, I was like, I don't feel good. And I went to bed at 6:30, freezing cold Friday night, and like just conked out. Woke up 2 hours later, had broken a sweat, obviously, from a fever, and slept like 13 hours that night. Next day, felt fine-ish, like nothing crazy bad. And then every day.
So y'all, you don't know this, but when Ashley gets sick on the times that she does, this is how it goes. She gets sick, and then the very next day, she wakes up and feels just a tiny, tiny little bit better, like everybody does. And she's like, oh, I'm good now. I'm totally good. I'm going to go do everything that I was supposed to do yesterday and today. And then the night comes, and it's like, oh, I think I'm still sick.
She is not wrong. So I proceeded to do that every day.
Every time.
And by Tuesday night, or Wednesday morning, I was like, I cannot do this again.
Yeah.
So I begrudgingly canceled all my sessions today. It's Thursday that we're recording this. And finally took what we're going to talk about today. I took some meds that helped me sleep last night because I have not been sleeping.
Yeah.
And I feel like a whole new person today. It's a miracle. It's quite amazing.
Completely healed.
Yeah. So
we'll see.
I did all the things today.
I'll be expecting that call tomorrow.
So I'll be on my deathbed tonight.
Right.
No, actually, I feel so good. Like by this time every night prior to this, like I couldn't wait to just get in my bed, and tonight I actually feel pretty good. So anyway, before we get into this episode on the dreaded flu season, we're going to share our weekly Bible verse. And mine's coming from 1 John 4:15, and it says, whoever confesses that Jesus is the Son of God, God abides in him, and he in God.
That's awesome. And mine is coming from 3 John. This is so weird. I was telling you earlier, it's like we share a brain. So this is 3 John 1:2. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you and that you may be in good health, Ashley Olson, as it goes well with your soul. We're not worried about your soul.
Your soul is good, because then you'll be well.
I know. Your nose and your throat, I'm not so sure about, but yeah.
Yeah. I may sporadically have to mute myself to spare you guys from cough, but it is much better. Oh my gosh. Whatever the strain is this year is apparently very potent, because it got to me. And now that I've had it, so many people I talked to are like, oh yeah, I'm on. Like, I was just talking to my neighbor yesterday, and she's like, oh, it sounds like you have the crud, because I actually sounded way sicker yesterday. Like, I was nasally, and like my voice was raspy. But she was on day 12 of it.
Oh my gosh.
And
gross.
and then Christian, pretty much all his coworkers he knows, and some clients, they're like a week at least in.
Yeah.
So Tomorrow will be a week for me, and I'm not gonna go past that because I am
Oh,
done.
okay. Okay. Ah, and when she says it, she means it. So
That's
we'll
right.
see. All
So,
right. All
okay.
right. So the first thing that is always, always, and hey, you guys, listen, we did an episode on kind of infectious disease, like upper respiratory kinds of stuff. I think it was like episode 17. Is that what I thought we looked at?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so yeah,
believe it's 17, yes.
so go back and listen to 17 because this is going to kind of piggyback onto that. There were so many
Mhm.
great things in that. This time, we are giving you completely new suggestions that are different than what we looked at last time. There may be a couple of things that overlap here just for the basics. In case you didn't go back and listen, I want you to have the basics down. But yeah, I think that would be an episode definitely worth listening to.
For sure. And today we're even going to dive into some homeopathic stuff that we didn't really necessarily talk about last time. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of the stuff we do is considered homeopathic, but there's some things that you may have heard, and we're going to either say yes to them or maybe we might poo-poo them. But
Yeah.
and we're
Yeah.
also going to talk about some um, over the counter drugs that you should not shy away
Mm.
from, especially when
Mhm.
when you're
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah, for real. For real.
So,
There's no point. Just
yeah,
stop it.
yeah. So, where do you want to start? You want to start with some basic, I think when we did our episode 17, we were kind
Mhm.
of on the more of the preventative side
Oh,
and
you're probably right.
not
Yeah.
necessarily on the active trying to get well over or getting over
Mhm.
something side. So, when we did episode 17, there's some basic supplements that we highly recommend doing um, during like a season like this where people are
Mhm.
getting sick. Seasons
Mhm.
change, the time change, lack of sun, cold, fluctuations in the weather. It's bound to happen to most people to have
Yeah.
some type of thing.
Yeah.
So there's some basic defense mechanisms that we believe that you can do in terms of supplements um, to add to your regimen, I guess,
Mhm.
especially this time of year.
Mhm.
And one that you've probably heard us talk about a ton is cod liver oil. I know that's been mentioned a lot
Yes.
in several episodes recently.
Yes.
So taking a daily dose of cod liver oil, you're getting lots of nutrients, and Andrea
Mhm.
will go on a
Oh my
whole
gosh.
told
Oh.
tangent on this one, but basic ones are like vitamin D, vitamin A, all your
Uh-huh.
omegas omega 3s that you need.
Mhm.
So that's a solid one. Vitamin D, Andrea, I know during the winter months or this time of year and through the winter
Mhm.
months, you recommend about 10,000 units a
I
day.
so I recommend 10,000 units a day for people who Um, typically for those who have autoimmunity, so we see a lot of this in my practice. If you're just a normal, person with no chronic disease walking around out there, I think 5,000 units a day is perfect. But if you're sick, then we can go up to like 50,000 units for 3 days in a row, and then go back to, your normal 5,000 units a day. But yeah, so like if you notice that something's coming on, I would go ahead and take 50,000 units. And I take
Okay.
it for 3 days in a row, and then I go back to either not supplementing or go back to your normal supplementation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then zinc, that's another big one.
Mhm.
Are you still recommending about 50 to 75 milligrams a day for 10
Yeah.
days?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, zinc is huge.
And so zinc, do you do that much while you're sick, or do you do
While you're
that?
sick. while
Okay,
you're
while you're
sick.
sick.
Now, I have a lot of people on zinc for various reasons,
Mhm.
but I always have them pulse it, and I know we've talked about this before. I think when we were talking, in our hormone episodes, I think we went through zinc and probably something else, like maybe thyroid. Um, but yeah, I've got a lot of people on zinc, but I always have them pulse dose it, so I'll have them, take it and then either take the weekends off or I'll have them take a week off a month. But that's a pretty hefty dose of zinc. I wouldn't want somebody taking 50 to 75 daily, even if they're pulse dosing it. I would probably put them down around 25 to 30 milligrams daily.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another one that I definitely do is vitamin C,
Mhm.
especially when I'm sick.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of data actually on megadosing vitamin C. So you can go up to like, I mean, shoot, you can go up to bowel tolerance if you want. You can vitamin C will cause loose stool.
mm,
The further you go up in dosing, and so you can actually dose to bowel tolerance if you want to. But I generally recommend that people take about a gram twice a day. That is not gonna hurt you at all. You can take it all winter long if you want to. You can take it while you're sick. Yeah, whatever.
I typically I think mine are 1,000 that I have
Yeah.
milligrams, and so I will take I believe or maybe they're 2,000. I think they're
Mm,
2,000, and
okay.
I will take 8,000 at a time.
Holy
Not
moly.
daily
Yeah.
while I'm
Oh,
sick.
okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
yeah.
And that'll keep you
Yeah.
pooping.
I which
So
does
that's all
that's
good.
helpful for me. And then
Oh.
bone broth, that's another
Bone
one.
broth? Yep, I have lamb. Oh my gosh, you guys. If you want to make the most gelatinous broth that you have ever made in all your days, get a bunch of lamb bones. Snuggle up to a lamb rancher because oh my gosh, they have the best bones. I got bags of them from a lady down the street and they are incredible. They make just this broth that is like solid. It's
Wow,
completely solid. It's amazing.
that's
So,
awesome.
yeah, I think people should be drinking bone broth all winter long.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, does, pho, when you get it from a
Oh,
Vietnamese, is
yeah.
that bone broth?
It may be, but it may not be. You'd have to ask each restaurant individually. It certainly would cost more to make it in a commercial space. It would cost more to make it from bone broth, but maybe they already have bones, that are laying around and that would be a pretty economical available source. So maybe.
Yeah. And then elderberry.
Elderberry. Okay, so a lot of people know about elderberry and they know about echinacea and they know about maybe like golden seal in terms of taking it when you're sick. These are all immunomodulators, and this is great except for people with autoimmunity because the immune system is just their immune system is already funky. And so we can these compounds can actually stimulate the immune system in ways that we don't want. So you got to be careful with these that you don't throw somebody into a flare potentially with autoimmunity when you're using these immunostimulating agents. What are you doing?
I was just my throat
You're
tickled, so I was
you're
pulling my skin, so I wouldn't cough, and then I noticed my skin's not going back as fast as I
well,
feel like it should.
maybe you're dehydrated
So I might be
because you're
dehydrated.
you're not old, you're just dehydrated.
Sorry.
I know exactly what's going through that head.
Uh,
So, yeah, and then the last one, and I think we talked about this on the last episode, but I am a fan of colostrum, and I think I railed about this the last time. You don't need colostrum every day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't follow the fads. You don't need colostrum every
and you
day.
don't need the name brand.
You don't need the name brand that starts with an A and ends with an A. The only thing you need that starts with an A and ends with an A is Andrea.
Exactly.
right? Okay, so
That's good,
anyway,
that's good.
thank you, thank you.
And if
You
my parents
yeah.
had been creative in my name, mine could have been Lea.
Oh, yes. Ashleigh. But then people would have called you Ashleigh, and that would have been weird. So,
That would have been that's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, colostrum, like, actually,
yep.
I've never taken it,
Yeah. I actually really like it. I think it almost tastes like if any of you remember, there used to be like when you would go to a place that made milkshakes, sometimes they would give
mm,
you the option of putting malt in it. So you
yeah,
could have either a malt or a milkshake, right? So malt is a substance that I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. I have no idea
it's
what malt
so
is.
funny. It's so
Uh,
funny because we had to look it up because we have a local creamery, like
yeah.
ice cream creamery, and so you can
Yeah.
get malt
Oh, they're
milkshakes,
so good.
and and we were
Did you
like,
look it
"What
up?
is malt?" And
I think it has
so
gluten though, right?
so let's see, malt is a sweetener with a distinct toasted caramel-like fruity
Yes, yes, yes.
flavor. Um, Malt is any cereal grain. Yeah,
Okay,
I
okay.
think.
So, I
What
do
is
think
malt
when you
made
get
of?
commercial malt, like, at the store, I think that it does have gluten in it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
made
it
from
is
a cereal grain.
tasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super tasty. And so, colostrum, the taste of it kinda reminds me of malt.
Oh, interesting.
So anyway, yeah, and
Well, next
it's
time you want a malt, just take your own
that's just
colostrum.
put colostrum in there and call it a day. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, and I would absolutely take that, once or twice a day when you're feeling run down, when you're feeling sick, when you think you might get sick. I think that's a great idea, but you certainly don't need it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some things that we talked about in the last episode,
Yeah,
but some things that we didn't talk about were some things that I actually grew up with. So I'm going to say this word the way that I grew up with this word,
I
and
love
then
it.
Andrea will tell you the proper way to say it. But I grew up taking osteocoslium, and I don't know where that came from. Like, I don't know if that's my
I
mom or if I didn't know how to say it,
it's
but
probably
always been osteocoslium to me.
it's okay.
And
I love
now,
that.
and
I
now,
actually
and
like it better than the real name.
yeah, you said the name, and I was like, that does not sound good.
What? That's not what I took.
That is not what I take. I take
Okay.
osteocoslium.
So this is oxalococcinium, and it's
Say it without laughing.
oh, sorry, hang on. Oxalococcinium, and it is a true homeopathic. So, um, the principle of homeopathy is that you get little doses of poison or whatever the offending agent is. That's what homeopathy is you get little doses of something bad in hopes that your body will then either become desensitized to it or that it will start to fight it, right? So essentially, it's kind of like vaccine technology, right? It's
Mhm.
like you get little bits of like little bits of an attenuated virus, and then hopefully your immune system will um, come up with some antibodies to it, and then you'll be able to fight it earlier. So
You're just
uh,
not getting all the other junk that
right,
comes along with the
right,
vaccine.
exactly.
Um,
So
but I love this stuff, and actually, it tastes like sugar.
it
So it is the
does.
one thing that my husband will actually do when he is sick.
Ah,
And so, if
yes.
I can get him to take the oscillocoslium, then I count it as a win. So,
Yeah.
they're like these little. It comes in these little tubes, and
Uh-huh.
you open them up, and they're basically little white um, dots. And yeah, they're sugar balls. Yeah, they literally taste like sugar.
Yeah.
They it, but you're supposed to put them underneath your tongue, sublingual, and let
Yeah.
them sit. And then you're just
Mhm.
supposed to like let it slowly dissolve in your mouth.
Yeah.
Um, so. I
Yeah.
highly recommend. I had totally forgotten about, well, one, I didn't think I had the freaking flu this week. I just thought I was getting, like, I
Yeah.
didn't know what I had. So I didn't really do any of my normal things that I would have done because it was all congestion.
Mhm.
Um,
We
and
have muscle aches too, though. And didn't you?
not crazy like I normally do when I get sick.
Okay. So
Like,
most
usually
of
when
the
I get
time.
sick, my back hurts so bad, and
Hmm.
mine didn't necessarily
Okay.
this time.
Well, then you actually may not have had true flu. Flu most of the time will come with really profound muscle aches. That kind where like your hair hurts, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I had headaches, but mostly I'm
yeah.
guessing it was mostly like a sinus headache, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you could have had the vid. You could have had, I mean, who knows? Could have upper respiratory, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, okay. So the sugar balls works.
Mhm. It
So
does. Yeah.
so take
No,
the sugar balls.
yeah, we always did them. I think they're
Mhm.
better when you have first onset symptoms.
Probably
Um,
so. Yeah, I
but
know some people take them weekly, like throughout the cough and cold season.
oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that might be something to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashley, tell us about the next one, please, because I
Okay.
can't say this with a straight
So,
face.
last year, I don't know what it was. I think it was rodeo, so that must have been in June. So my in-laws had come in, and I woke up. I don't even totally remember how this all went down. I woke up and I was like, I don't feel good, and um, like just exceptionally tired, like
Mhm.
beyond what I've ever felt tired. And I just had no other symptoms. I was just exhausted, could not keep my eyes open. I think maybe my body hurt. I don't know. Anyway, I was so fed up with how I was feeling that I just started looking up like things that I could do. And
Uh-huh.
so one of the ones was put onions in your socks. And I was like, I am so desperate right now. Like, I do not want to feel like this. So
Uh-huh.
I put onions in my
Uh,
socks and I
yeah.
took a long nap with them that stunk to high heaven. And I swear, I
I
think I slept all
know.
night with them. I think I
Yeah, I
slept all
think you
night
did
with them.
too. I think you did too. Yeah.
And I woke up the next day like a completely new person.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
I don't know if it's placebo. I don't
I
know if it actually worked. I don't care what it was. I felt like
Mhm.
a new person the
Yeah.
next morning.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
actually did it again this yesterday.
yeah,
I
and
I did
you're
it for a
better
couple
today.
hours and I'm better today. So
I
the
know.
wives' tale is that it helps, I think, draw out the toxins. Like your feet are very
Mhm.
um isn't it like
Ah,
your feet
girl.
absorb like so much? I don't
I
know.
I don't know. People talk about detoxing through the feet and all this. I just I don't physiologically I can't see a reason for it, and so I just can't quite go there. Like I'm a skeptic at heart. It's just
Well,
who I
yeah.
am.
For sure.
So, yeah.
But yeah,
But
and the other one too is like pure cotton socks, get them wet, and
yeah.
then put wool socks, dry wool socks over those. I
Mm,
think that helps draw like a fever out, maybe. So
okay.
that's another wives' tale.
Okay.
There's no science
Uh,
backing it. There's nothing like,
yeah.
but hey, if you are
Uh,
suffering and
yeah,
if
do it.
you are miserable,
Yeah.
try anything and everything.
Yeah, and there's no downside to it. I mean, except it
No, other
stinks.
than it
It stinks.
smells.
Yeah.
But hey, if you can smell it, then maybe you don't have the
Then maybe
bits.
I woke up and my feet stink horribly,
Yes,
and it's a win. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, I've done it
Mhm.
twice now, and it feels
Yeah.
weird, but it's not that bad. Like
Yeah.
especially if it makes you feel better. So,
Yeah.
so the
Okay.
next one I have never done. I don't even own this oil. But the other one is rubbing oregano oil with a carrier on your feet and putting socks on. But
Yeah.
Andrea has
That
some
okay,
things.
now listen. Here's the thing. If people want to put oregano oil on their skin with the carrier oil, please, because it will burn you. It's a really, really strong oil. Um, it will burn your skin, so you want to dilute it with something, like Ashley said, put it in a carrier oil. But that's fine. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that at all. In fact, some people use it for like dental infections.
Mm.
Um, we used to use clove oil. In fact, there was something called eugenol that is a clove oil formulation that people used to use for toothaches quite
Huh.
effectively. And so probably the same principle applies for using oregano oil in the mouth for dental infections. But let me tell you, um, do not ingest oregano oil. There's so many people taking oregano oil capsules. They're giving them to their children. They're taking them every day. It is an atom bomb in your gut. Please don't do this. This will indiscriminately kill like tons of beneficial bacterial populations. It can completely eradicate them, meaning you will never see them again. And that
Oh,
is really, really bad. So please don't take oregano oil. Please don't ingest it.
but you can eat oregano leaves?
Yes, you can. Yes,
Okay.
you can. Absolutely. Eat all the pizza you want, but just please don't eat oregano oil. They use this as an industrial antibiotic for chickens. Okay.
Oh, dang.
So when Tyson comes out and they say, "Oh, we're antibiotic free. We use natural things like oregano." This is what they're talking about in those commercials. They're using oregano oil because it is so potent, it kills absolutely everything.
Oh,
So,
wow.
that's not a good thing.
No. So maybe
Yeah.
clean your floors with it.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah. Yeah, you could it's like an industrial solvent. I mean, it's
Wow.
just yeah.
All
So,
right.
that's my
Noted.
spiel on oregano.
Good to
Mhm.
know. I didn't know
Uh-huh.
all that.
Yeah.
So I think we touched on it maybe for a second, but lauric acid or monolaurin.
Yeah.
So I grew up on monolaurin as well. We would take it when we were sick, and I
Which is
don't.
so awesome. Like, Ashley, I've told you this before, but Ashley has known about this stuff like her whole life. I didn't come to a lot of this until like the last 10, 12 years. So she's actually known about a lot of this stuff because of how she grew up way longer than I have. And monolaurin is one of those things.
Yeah, and I think I was told. I mean, as a kid, I don't know if recently I've been told this, but I was told monolaurin acts like an antibiotic.
E- it is an anti-infective. I would say that it is more effective against viruses. It is an extract from coconut. So, lauric acid comes from coconut, and then there is a product formulation called monolaurin that I really like. It looks like these wax beads, and you swallow them. In fact, the I want to say the product is called. I think it's from a company that makes monolaurin. So you can get it in like capsules, but I would not take it like that. I think it needs to be taken in these little wax beads. And so it kind of feels like you're eating candle wax, but you just swallow them down. It'll come in a little canister, or it'll come in like a mylar envelope, and you take it like that. So what
That's
this
not how I
is?
take it.
Oh,
I've never
really?
heard of
How
that.
how did you guys have it?
Just capsules.
Oh, huh. I would do the little wax beads. I
Hmm,
That is the very best way because it's got to be in a fat, and so it's going to be in that little waxy pastille, if you will, and you just swallow it. Um, and then it'll usually come with a scoop, or it'll tell you like a tablespoon or whatever the dosing is. But yeah, the cool thing about monolaurin is that it has activity against specifically against enveloped viruses. Now, viruses kind of come in two species. There's enveloped and naked. So the non-enveloped or naked viruses, they don't have this coat of protection around them, around their viral capsid. but they're just like naked genetic material out in the world. Now, an enveloped virus is something that has like a coat around it, and this is part of the virus's protection. And it's just kind of part of its structure, part of its viral structure. And so, for enveloped viruses, what are examples of enveloped viruses? Well, the one that we all know is COVID. So coronaviruses are enveloped. Influenza or the flu virus is enveloped. And as well, there are other types of viruses that are enveloped as well. And so Epstein Barr is enveloped. So is the chickenpox virus. So is herpes. Okay. So cold sores, those kinds of things, they are all enveloped viruses. Now we have better drugs for herpes. We have better drugs for chickenpox or shingles than monolaurin, but it should theoretically have some activity against those viruses. Now, non-enveloped viruses, perhaps the biggest one that would be apropos to this episode is rhinoviruses. So the common cold. So monolaurin would have no activity against a non-enveloped virus like a rhinovirus, which causes the common cold. However, if you have flu, if you have COVID, then this is great to take, and it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt you at all. So
Well, that's awesome.
yeah,
Well, I didn't know about the beads, so I'm gonna
yeah.
find one and then we'll link it in the show notes,
Oh yeah, yeah. That'd
so
be
that
good.
you guys can get those too. Cause and do so you just chew them?
Nope, you swallow them whole.
Oh,
You
okay,
swallow them
okay.
whole. Yep. Yeah, and it's gonna feel weird, like you got a mouthful of like a child's toy or something.
Oh,
Um, like
okay.
yeah, they're weird,
All
but
right.
effective. And
Um,
then
yeah.
yeah,
So the next one, I mean, has been around for a lot of, and a lot of people do it. I have personally never done it. I've done saline solution sprays,
mhm.
but I've never truly done a neti pot.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
But I know they are really good.
So, neti pots, I hate neti pots. I don't encourage people to use these things. I think they're awful. I think they're gross. Like you tip your head and then you're like dumping saline water, gravity fed through one side of your nose and out the other. Now, I would rather control that, and so I like the squeeze bottles, and
Oh,
so it's the Neomed squeeze bottles that I typically will suggest patients use.
I have done that.
Yes, that's the best way, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Um,
You don't feel like you're gonna drown yourself.
yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Oh, hey, you know what? So I just found the monolaurin that I was thinking of. Its active ingredient is monolaurin. I misspoke. So the company is called Lauracidin or
Yeah,
Lauracidin.
that's the one I have pulled up.
That is the OG. Now, I don't think that you have to buy that one, but it's a good one. So yeah, that's a fantastic one to link up.
Okay.
Looks like they have an Amazon store too. So
Yeah, they
all
do.
right. So the sinus rinse. So a lot of people will try to get the same effect with a saline spray. That's not it is not even close to a nasal rinse. So what you're doing is you're trying to wash out your nasal passages, whereas if you just put a saline spray up there, it's not flushing anything out, right? It might help with some symptoms, it might help with some dried out sinus passages, but it won't help to flush anything out. So I do like using the Neil Med bottle, and then you can get extra credit on that if you put like a teaspoon of betadine in there. Okay. Now, will it burn like fire? Yes. Yes, it will. But if you can tolerate it, then it will kill bacteria that's up there. It will help to flush things out. So anyway, I do like betadine if you feel like there's something coming into your sinuses. Then I also like, and we've talked about this before, I'm sure, but I also like the Xlear, stupid name, great product, Xlear. Who knows how to say that? None of us. None of us do. But it's a xylitol nasal spray. And it helps to break up biofilm. I'm not going to belabor that point because we've been over it. But then I follow that with an Argentine, which is a colloidal silver spray,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
another anti-infective, right? So
Yep.
Argentine 23, that's the one that I've recommended for years. It's a great product. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how I like to attack sinuses. Now there's
Okay.
also salt water in the form of gargling, right? And so that
Yeah, and I
that
I used to do
helps.
that too, especially with
Mhm.
sore throats.
Mhm.
It always seems to help, and people get weirded out by gargling salt water, but
No, it's fantastic.
it
And
honestly feels so good.
yeah, make it as hot as you can stand it without burning yourself and then gargling with it. And what that will do, it really helps to soothe. Like if you've got a cough or a sore throat, that will really help to soothe it.
Do you like a certain kind of salt?
Nope, I don't care. Just the non iodized. I wouldn't use iodized salt for that. I would just use the sodium chloride, whatever you got.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then another one, peppermint tea.
Is that something that you used?
So I do it mainly for soothing, like getting some hot liquids in, especially if you got a
Okay.
lot of like
Yeah.
mucus buildup,
Yeah.
like I did. So just drinking hot liquids, it honestly just is soothing.
Yeah.
Like if you have stomach issues too, peppermint's always
Yes.
nice.
Yes.
Um, and that's really the only reason I like it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. I use it for bloating, I use it for indigestion, I use it in people who have, sometimes reflux,
oh
after
yeah.
eating certain
Oh,
things, I'll use it then, but, if you put honey in it, then it can become it can help with cough, it can help soothe sore throat, but there are other types of teas that are called demulcents, and these actually, they're almost like a little mucin in there, things like throat coat tea,
oh
right?
yeah.
Um,
I actually got some of that too.
yes, that is fantastic. So it has almost this, mucilage-like quality to it, kinda like the goo that surrounds chia seeds, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's a little tiny bit of that in, like, licorice tea, throat coat tea, that kinda thing, so that can be really soothing as well. Um, and I'll just say one of the reasons that people come into primary care during cold and flu season is because they have this hideous cough that has been hanging on forever and ever and ever. Coughs are horrendously violent symptoms. And in fact, older people can break ribs from coughing so much. It's a really violent act, and you can't help it. Like you can't stop it. And so, yeah, cough. And here's the problem. Here's the problem. This is where I'm going. The problem is we don't really have anything good. There isn't anything good. So unfortunately, I have to tell patients like, well, I mean, I could give you some prescription cough syrups. We have some of those that can be a little bit helpful. But we don't really have a silver bullet against cough. There's nothing great.
Which is
So, yeah,
sucks.
it does suck because, I mean, it makes people not wanna be around you even if you're over your cold, but you got this cough that's hanging on. I mean, you sound like you have the plague, so people don't wanna be around you, and it's miserable, and it helps
Yeah.
and it keeps you from sleeping, like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
So that's why things like saltwater gargles, things like tea, things like honey, we need to be doing all of those when you've
Yeah.
got those hanging coughs.
Yes. And then if you are having sinus issues, so
Mhm.
like the other night, oh my gosh, it was so bad. I was felt like I was drowning in
Mhm.
my own mucus, but
Nice.
I ended up having to prop my head up,
Yeah.
elevate my head basically,
Yeah.
so that it was draining because there was
Yep.
no laying flat for sure.
Yeah. No, as soon as you lay down, your sinus passages completely fill up with goo, and that is so miserable, and you can't breathe, and yeah, it's awful.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, if you've got like a recliner chair, sometimes you can go out and sleep in that, and that will help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's miserable. So yeah, do a lot with positioning if you can. that helps.
Mhm.
Also,
And
like,
then
hot showers, the humidity, that will help with
yes.
sinus stuff too.
Mhm.
But again, all of this, I mean, truly, we're dependent on the body's immune system to fight this stuff, right? Because we're largely talking about symptom control, because your
Yes.
body should be working its way through the infection.
Right.
And
And
then
we're
you
here
just
we're basically these things are one to support but also
Mhm.
comfort the misery.
Right. Right.
Um
Because you
yeah.
have to live your life.
Yeah.
So
Um and I did a hot shower last night
Mhm.
before bed, and you could just, I mean, every time yesterday I think, or no, Tuesday. No, yesterday. Whatever day. I like took 3 hot showers
Mm.
just to get
Mhm.
like it
Some
all
steam
moving.
in. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it helps keep things moving for sure, and sometimes you can blow out a lot of snot after taking a hot shower and, like, get some of that crud out, so, yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
very gross. But,
Mhm.
something that we talk about pretty much in almost every like health related episode that we do, in it's something that we literally cannot put off until we're dead.
Mhm.
And that is sleep. And
Mhm.
um
Yep.
I have had absolute crap sleep this week. And
Yep.
so after Tuesday night, when I literally, I mean, Christian, I think, was about ready to call in all the forces. Um, I was like, I cannot do this
Uh,
another night. And so
uh-huh.
something I wanted to talk about is, yes, we are all about the homeopathic. We're all about the natural
Natural.
route
Mhm.
for curing or helping, or,
Mhm.
being on that route. But please don't mis um er, interpret what we're saying, that there is a time and place for what we
Yes.
call Western medicine. And
Yep.
so last
Don't be a
night I took
hero.
yeah. So last night I ended up taking some nighttime, it was actually Tylenol, I guess. But
Mhm.
and I finally was able to sleep, and I feel like a new person today. So
Right.
like, sleep is healing. Sleep is
Mhm.
so important. And
Mhm.
obviously we don't want to rely on those drugs long term.
Yep.
But in the immediate need of getting well with a sickness?
Mhm.
Absolutely. So Andrea would prefer, she said, ibuprofen, or what is APAP?
Oh, acetaminophen. That's
Oh,
that's an abbreviation for acetaminophen. Yeah.
okay. So that's Tylenol, right?
Mhm. Yep, it
Okay.
is. Yes.
So ibuprofen you like better. Is there a reason?
Mhm. Yeah, especially when you're sick. I really like ibuprofen better if your gut is okay. Um, so the reason is because Tylenol will oppose the body's master antioxidant. This is glutathione. Um, and we need glutathione. Like, this is what helps to tamp down oxidative stress in the body. Oxidative stress begets inflammation. Inflammation makes you feel crappy, and so we don't want, like, all of this hideous inflammation, right? Your body is automatically inflaming itself to fight off the infection, but we can't stay in that state of inflammation. And that's why we don't want to block the activity of glutathione, right? Because it's like it's starting little fires to fight the bug. But we need to be able to put out those fires so that they're not raging. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I like ibuprofen. Ibuprofen probably works better too. So really, Tylenol, the way that it works is it increases your pain tolerance. So you you just think that you're not feeling as much pain, but you really are. So ibuprofen actually goes after these specific prostaglandins that are in the inflammatory cascade. So it has a lot more activity than Tylenol does, and some of it bad. it blocks, it can block the prostaglandin that protects the gut lining. So that's why I say, if you've got ulcers, if you've got some other gut issues, that's not the best choice for you. Also, if you're headed into surgery in the next couple of days, well, you're probably not if you're sick, but if you're headed into surgery, you don't want ibuprofen. It's got some anticoagulation effects that it exhibits also. So it's not the best choice in certain circumstances, but overall, it is superior.
Okay. And then another one is dextromethorphan.
Yeah, dextromethorphan. This is so remember when I said we don't really have anything great for cough? This is the best thing that we have. So we used to give narcotics for cough. We used to give opioids for coughs. Like we would give codeine. Girl, we would even give hydrocodone for a cough. There was this stuff called Tussinex, and it was hydrocodone in a suspension, no less. So yeah, it was easily abused. It was just a terrible drug. I don't even think it's available anymore, but anyway, so what an opiate will do is it will inhibit the cough receptor in the brain from being stimulated. Now, but it's an opiate, right? I mean, it's like, oh, fentanyl helps with a cough. Okay, great. That's probably a little overkill. So we probably don't want to use that for a cough.
Please,
So
please do not use that.
yeah, yeah. Hear us. So dextromethorphan is interesting. It's a synthetic that mimics the activity of the opioid on the cough receptor. And so it's just over the counter. The formulation that I like, there's something called Robitussin DM. This is
Oh yeah.
this is the Robitussin that is dextromethorphan. That's what the DM stands for. So that's the cough Robitussin.
I
I don't
remember you
particular
telling me this one time.
Yes, I don't care for that formulation. I like the Delsym better because it's a 12-hour formulation.
So that's the
Dextromethorphan,
DM one.
yes, yes, that is Delsym, dextromethorphan. Go ahead and get the generic if you want to, but make sure that it's the 12-hour. Now, the 12-hour will only work for about 6 to 8 hours, but it's the best that we have. Okay, they call it a 12-hour. I'm not sure why. It doesn't work for that long, but fine. Um,
So Mucinex DM?
Mucinex DM is also going to be their particular brand of dextromethorphan, but I doubt that it's 12-hour. Delsym is really the only
It
one that I
says 12
know.
hour, but
Oh, does it? Okay, so it
yeah.
might be. It might be. Delsym is kind of the OG tried and true, so
Okay.
that's the one that I always tell people to get.
All right.
So
Oh,
yeah,
Delsum,
I
here it is.
I would get it at Costco. That's the best price.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. And I would not hesitate to take it because again, especially take it at night. Again, you need sleep. Like you
Yeah.
you have to sleep. You can't heal without sleep.
Right.
And then
Whether you're sick or not.
yes, absolutely,
So,
absolutely. And then I also, kind of along the lines of cough, I want to talk about cough drops for a second too. These are highly undervalued. Like just being able to suck on a sugar-based drop is really going to help your throat. It
yes.
helps to soothe your throat. It helps to keep you from coughing. There's a
Yep.
reason why, like, all the old ladies at church have cough drops in their purse, to include myself. I have a purse full of cough drops all winter long, because you don't want to sit there and with that tickle and cough. A cough drop will help. So,
Yep.
yeah, there's lots of sugar-free ones that I like. They're not perfect. A lot of cough drops have dyes in them and things like that. But again, you're not sick year round. This is a very acute kind of time that we're dealing with here. So don't be orthorexic about your cold and flu preparations.
I always like the Ricola brand.
Oh, yeah, that's good. They're a more natural brand, and I love Ricola, but you wanna know what I like best of all?
Hmm.
Girl, do you remember Luden's cherry cough drop? They're a wild cherry, and they are like the best cherry candy that you've ever had in your life. And they sold them in these cute little boxes with like wax paper around all the cough drops. And they were, I can like feel that cough drop in my mouth right now because it had little ridges on it, and I loved them. I loved them. So they still make some Luden's cough drops. Sometimes you can find them at Walgreens, like up by the register. And they also made a licorice one that I really, really like. So,
That's
anyway,
awesome.
Ludens are fantastic.
Very good.
Again, yeah. Um,
And then
mhm. Oh, s
pseudoephedrine.
yes, pseudoephedrine. This is
Oh.
Sudafed. This is
Oh, yes. This
you
is
just
this
you
is
say it with
why.
confidence.
Yep.
Yeah. So pseudoephedrine, that's the generic name for Sudafed. This is the Sudafed that you want. The
Okay.
there is a kind called phenylephrine that you don't have to go back to the pharmacy to get. It doesn't work. I, I've been saying it doesn't work for like 25 years now. It doesn't work. But people were making meth with with the real Sudafed, so they put it behind the pharmacy counter and then put this crap out front that doesn't work, and people have been buying it for years, but it doesn't do anything. So
S-
pseudoephedrine, they're going to want your driver's license. Just give it to
Oh,
them. Just give it to
okay.
them. It's the Breaking Bad Sudafed. You got to go to the pharmacy. You got to, cough up your license and they'll sell it to you. So I would not be afraid to use any of the above that we just talked about, because if you're having body aches, if you're having cough and headache, if you're having congestion that is just killing you, just take it. Just take the meds. You'll feel better, and that will help you sleep. It will help you rest. It will keep your body from getting so stressed.
Yep.
So yeah, that's
You just rhymed.
I did, and I didn't even know it. So yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
this was
that's
really
the
good.
rant. Mhm.
I mean, super timely because I know
Yeah.
so many people that are sick,
Yeah,
and
I do
it gets
too.
really frustrating. And I was telling
Mhm.
Andrea, it's like I forgot about a lot of these things because when you're sick,
Yeah.
your mind just kind of goes out the window,
Yeah.
um, and you're
Mhm.
just kind of you literally are in a fight or flight mode,
Yeah.
and so your body needs some assistance. And if some of the natural remedies are not cutting it,
Mhm.
then don't be
Yeah.
afraid to go over the counter or back to the counter.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
so
Totally.
so yeah. Um, if you guys have some natural remedies that we didn't even discuss, we would love to hear them
Yeah,
because
let us know.
there's always some things that people say they do, and I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I had never heard of that. So we are always loving to add to the list, and
Mhm.
like I said, with the onions in the socks, like I
Yep.
have no idea if it works, but I'm
But
telling
man,
you,
yeah.
both times I've done it, the next day is way better. So,
Yep.
um, I'm gonna stick to it if I'm
Mhm.
sick. So, um, but yeah, thanks so much, Andrea, for sharing all this and talking through all
Oh,
of
you
it. And I
too.
hope
Yeah.
I hope that our listeners found it beneficial. And again, if you haven't already, go back to listen episode 17 because this was
Mhm.
a different twist than what we did with that episode. So, and as always, if you enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes that we've done, we would love to hear from you. And you can do that by either sharing a review on whatever platform that you listen on,
Mhm.
or by sharing it on your Instagrams and tagging us. And then, as always, one of the biggest compliments is sharing this episode or any of our other episodes with friends and family. So,
Mhm.
as always, thanks again for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye. The content provided in the AA podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The podcast is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute medical advice.